everyone, and welcome to Tragic Hollywood on the Town's bonus star of the week, a little video about Virginia Rappe and the scandal that shook Hollywood way back in the 1920s when Fatty Arbuckle, one of the biggest stars at that time, was accused of her murder. Let's find out if that was accurate. Hi everyone, and welcome to Tragic Hollywood on the Town's Tragic Star of the Week bonus video. This video is about a woman who was not a star. She acted in a few bit parts in silent films, but she was involved in one of the biggest scandals one of the biggest and first scandals that Hollywood ever endured. It changed the way people saw Hollywood. It changed Hollywood itself. And her death is important for that reason. And so I'm going to profile her in a brief video. And we're talking about Virginia Rappe. She was the girl who was found sick and dying in a hotel room after she had spent a few hours partying in another hotel room with the very famous comedian Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle. And it was said by eyewitnesses at that time that something happened to her while she was in a bedroom with a door closed between her and Arbuckle that resulted in her screaming out in pain, ripping off her clothes, and saying that he killed her. So let's take a look at who this girl was. But before we do, if you like my content, and I'm assuming you do if you subscribed and you've gotten this far, please watch my videos, leave comments. Let me know if you've ever heard of Fatty Arbuckle. Let me know if you've ever heard of Virginia Rappe. Let me know if you like these videos, who you'd like to see profiled in the next week, and such and so on. Also, please check out my books. They're available on Amazon. There's a link in the description on my channel, as well as a link to my Facebook page, which has been around for 15 years. And it's pretty prestigious, and I go into a lot of detail about these stars on that page. Also, if you wouldn't mind, just giving a like is great. Any type of interaction with my videos is great. So I will take anything I can get at this point. Let's take a look at the scandal that shocked Hollywood and was still whispered about today. There's so much misinformation out there about this poor girl that I wanted to set the record straight. In my book, I wrote about the whole thing. In my second book, Tragic Hollywood, Beautiful, Glamorous, and Still Dead. And it's under the chapter on Fatty Arbuckle, but I go into a lot of detail on who Virginia Rappe actually was. Many have accused her. To this day, there's a lot of victim shaming out there, which I get tired of. This girl died, and she didn't die a nice, quick death. It was an agonizing death. It took days for her to die. Her bladder was ruptured. She didn't die from a botched abortion like a lot of people out there like to push this narrative. She died from a ruptured bladder. And that just doesn't happen spontaneously because you have to go to the bathroom. You held it too long. It happens when you get blunt force trauma applied to your bladder. That's when it happens. This shouldn't happen in a vacuum, okay? And another thing, she had bruises on her arms. She had bruises on her legs. That just doesn't happen, okay, when you're having consensual relations, all right? I go into detail in my book about what I think happened that night. But first, before we get into that, let's talk about who Virginia Rappe was. I'm going to read a little short bio on Virginia Rappe just to dispel all this garbage that she was a prostitute. She was known as a party girl. Once you got that reputation at that time, that was just a step above a prostitute, okay? Men could party all they wanted, but women, they were labeled troublemakers if they tried to party too much. Virginia Rappe was born to hard circumstances. She was born in New York City to an unwed mother. And when she was only 11, her mother died. So she was brought up by her grandmother in Chicago. She began working at 14 years of age as an art model. I'm using air quotes here. She designed a line of clothing and was the first to turn a male tuxedo into a fashion statement. She was also a successful model and clothing designer, earning $4,000 a year from these sources before abandoning everything to try her luck as an actress. $4,000 a year was a lot of money back then. You know, this was before the 20s, so that was a lot of money. So in 1960, she relocated to San Francisco to pursue her career as an artist model, where she met dress designer Robert Moskowitz, to whom she became engaged. Shortly after the engagement, Moskowitz was killed in a streetcar accident, whereupon she moved to Los Angeles, devastated. She decided to try to make the move to Hollywood in 1917, where she was hired by director Fred Balshofer and given a prominent role in Paradise Garden opposite a popular screen star, Harold Lockwood. Balshofer then hired her again to co-star with early drag performer Julian Assange and newcomer Rudolph Valentino in Over the Rhine, for which she was awarded the title of Best Dressed Girl in Pictures. And by the way, yes, this girl really knew how to dress. See, example, she was a fashionista. Some of her clothes I'd wear today, but of course, that's just me and I'm eccentric. But I'm telling you, she knew how to dress. So here we are. Do we see prostitute in here? No. She was a clothing designer. She was a model, okay? And she was an actress. She'd acted in some A-list films. Nowhere do we see prostitute in here. Anywhere. I can't find prostitute anywhere in here, okay? So, that's who Virginia Rappe was. Who was Fatty Arbuckle? He was extremely prominent, well-known comedian and actor in the 1920s. He was probably the highest paid comedian in the world at that time. He had made several shorts with the equally fabulous comedian Mabel Normand, who doesn't get near enough credit for anything. And by the way, she also in my book, Mabel Normand, she follows the Fatty Arbuckle chapter. So let's find out what happened to Virginia Rappe that night that she was in San Francisco and just happened to meet a girlfriend in the lobby of the St. Francis Hotel who told her that she was going to a party on the 12th floor. And by the way, I have a video of this room. I'll link it in the description, but it's actually, it's called, it's Take a Tour of Room 1219. And that's the video, and it's on my channel if you want to check it out. She said she was going to a party on the 12th floor and that Fatty Arbuckle is going to be there. And of course, Virginia Rappe, who's a struggling actress, jumped at the chance to go to this party and meet a well-known star and perhaps try to influence him into hiring her for one of his films. So Rappe goes up with her friend, and the party's already in full swing, and Arbuckle is casually strolls out of his bedroom in pajamas and a silk robe. The booze is flowing like nothing. People are getting super smashed. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Rappe was known for being a hard drinker. She loved her alcohol, and she was swigging it down with everybody else. At one point, according to eyewitnesses, Rappe tried to use the restroom that was in another bedroom, but it was the door was locked and two people were in there doing things. So instead of doing that, she passed through the main area where the party was. These are two adjoining suites, and you'll see that in my video. She passed through the main living area and went into the other room. I think it was room 1219, and where another bathroom was. And according to eyewitnesses, Roscoe Arbuckle saw her go into that bedroom to head to the bathroom, and he followed her, and he shut the door. Okay? People saw this. This is not disputed. He even confessed to this. Read the court transcripts if you don't believe me. Read the court transcripts. Oh, he was all over the map in all the 3 trials that he had. Poor guy, maligned, jury couldn't convict him twice. But boy, when they found him innocent on the 3rd trial, okay? So much so that they gave him a big fat apology. We're so sorry. You were awfully mistreated. You didn't do anything. Here's what actually happened. He went in that bedroom. He closed the door. And about 2 minutes later, everyone goes rushing towards the door because they hear violent, loud screams coming from inside the bedroom. They can't get the door open. It's locked. So they finally break the door down, and they find this girl
writhing in pain
and screaming that Fatty Arbuckle has killed her, and she's ripping her clothes off. Yeah. All of you people say, well, she probably had an abortion right before she came there, and she's dying of a botched abortion. And then there's a bunch of other people that say shit like, oh, she had a UTI, and she was just, she always did that when she had a UTI. A UTI. Yeah. No, she didn't. She had a ruptured bladder. The bladder contents ruptured from blunt force trauma, causing the contents of her bladder to spill into her body, and it resulted in peritonitis and sepsis. And she died 4 days later in agony. Okay? That's what happened to her. Now, she didn't have a ruptured bladder before she went up to that hotel room. She didn't have a ruptured bladder before she went into that bedroom. So you tell me how she got a ruptured bladder. Okay? In my opinion, she got a ruptured bladder when this fat ass closed the door and locked it, and then tried to have sex with her and threw her on the bed and then jumped on her in a playful manner because he was drunk too. But he weighed like 350 pounds. She weighed like 100. So when he jumped on her, the force of his body ruptured her bladder. That is what I think happened. And I'm tired of the victim shaming when it comes to Virginia Rappe. She was a victim. She died. This guy, oh yeah, he lost his career for a while. What a shame. She died. She was like 31. Okay? He should have gone to jail, in my opinion. I wish he had gone to jail. I feel absolutely zero sympathy for Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle in this regard. I'm the minority. I know this. Most of the Hollywood pages, they hate this girl. They victim shame her over and over again. She's a prostitute. She had abortions. This was another abortion, botched abortion, blah, blah, blah. No, no, and no. She was a struggling actress. She was a model, and she was a clothing designer. Give her some respect. So, that's what happened. The scandal lit up Hollywood. The 3 trials that Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle endured were constantly in the press. This was on the heels of Barbara Lamar dying of a drug overdose, and people were saying that Hollywood was too decadent and too scandalous, and people shouldn't go to the movies anymore, and so Hollywood's going to have to crack down. And this was one of the reasons that Hollywood initiated the Hays Code and all of this stuff, because people were like, this is just too much, it's amoral. We're talking about a much more religious and conservative America than we have now, a much less tolerant America than we have now. So they buried her, and they had a grand funeral for her. But they had all sorts of lurid headlines regarding what actually happened. Oh, Fatty Arbuckle took a Coke bottle to her. No, that didn't happen. He didn't have to rupture her bottle with a Coke, her bladder with a Coke bottle. He jumped on her, and that's what ruptured her bladder. But these sold papers, didn't they? So yeah, in my opinion, Fatty Arbuckle got what he deserved, and that's that with the Virginia Rappe Fatty Arbuckle scandal. It's in my book, Tragic Hollywood, Beautiful, Glamorous, and Still Dead. That's the chapter, if you want to check it out. There's a link in the description to my channel, from my channel, all towards my, all of my books on Amazon. There's a link to my Facebook page, Tragic Hollywood, Beautiful, Glamorous, and Dead, in which I go into great details about these things. And so, thank you for joining me this week. I hope you like I hope you liked my video. Have you ever heard of this scandal? Have you ever heard of Fatty Arbuckle? Did you ever see anything by him? Any shorts? Let me know. Please let me know in the comments below. That would be great. So please like, subscribe, do all the things, and I will see you next week.